Okay, currently my Ender 3 is printing about a 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch crate. Basically, this down here, this to the left here, the red one, is the bottom of the crate. The white portion here is the middle, and then the blue is the top. I'm printing the blue upside down, so the handles right here will match with the handles in the white portion when it's turned the correct side up, and then glued on, and then the whole thing will then be glued to the red portion. The one thing I want to pass on is that when I did the red one, it printed great. No issues, no problems. But I did find that the walls of the red one here, you see where it's orange, and you see out here it's red, but the walls seem to be too thin for a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Basically, it was thin enough that I could actually tear it apart. I could pull it apart. So what I did is I reinforced the walls of the red one here with these side pieces. These are orange. I made them orange so you could see that this is indeed added to the red to make it thicker so that it would actually print better with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. And then the blue, which is printing now, I have one printing now over here. There's really no issue with the blue. I did, when I cut it off, I turned it over so that the handle portion would not need supports right in here. I wanted to avoid any supports at all. So this will print upside down and then be glued to the top of the white portion over here. Inside each of these little squares, I thought maybe those would need supports, but it is angled. They have the portion of it angled in a downward or upward, depending on how you look at it, direction. So they should print clean. So the white over here, now its problem is if you were to print the whole thing as one piece, you know, from the red up into the white, up into the blue, the white is going to have issues if it uses the same G code as the red or as the blue. The G code for the red is pretty straightforward, pretty quick, pretty simple. When you start moving into the white, all of these little legs here, all of these little diamond shapes are going to have issues with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle because basically when it prints, let's go ahead and do this, when it prints, it actually will print each layer side by side. So it has to jump, okay? So it literally, as it prints up, it has to jump up, okay? So let's just say here, halfway, right in this area, it's putting a small amount of filament right there, jump to here, jump to there, jump, jump, jump. So there's a lot of jumping around from here to here. And during those retractions and jumping, problems will occur. Okay, so the issue is that let's just say about halfway up. So when it's jumping, you know, it's jumping, 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 then it's going around the jump, 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 then on the jump, it's jumping all the way around on that one layer, okay, all the way around, and then it has to come back to where it left off and then move up one layer. So it's very tricky for the printer to go from, say, here all the way around, you know, putting little drops of filament, and then when it gets back to where it started, it's got to move up one layer and start all over. So it'll filament here, and then, so basically, as it moves up, it has to return on that layer back to where it started so that it can indeed jump up one layer and then do it again. So every time it moves around layer by layer all the way up, you're risking it losing its place. It literally may not exactly come back to the exact same place it left off. So if you're just putting a dot right here, but no, you got to go over there, you got to go over here. So your Y, your X and your Y are drawing little dots on top of each layer all the way around, moving up one layer at a time. So it tends to make a bit of a mess. So if you use a 0.2 millimeter nozzle, that might increase the odds that it'll be cleaner because the tinier the dot, it actually has room to work. If you're using a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, it doesn't give it much error space. It doesn't give it much, being off just slightly because the 0.4 is pretty much the whole thing. So that's something you got to watch out for when printing this. So that way, if you print it separately, like this, in one basic piece, so if you print it in one piece, print it alone, by itself, change it to a 0.2 millimeter nozzle and print it. It'll be clean, and then it can be glued to the 0.4 millimeter nozzle of this piece over here and the 0.4 millimeter here. So when you print the middle part, the grid, try a 0.2 millimeter nozzle because it'll be a better print than the two over here. So you don't want to keep the same G code for this one as it is for this one, but it needs to change here on the white one. So I hope that helps. It gives you something to look for. Happy printing.